We invite all fans of mystical fiction to continue listening to the next part of Chapter 1 of the story, The Patron Behind the Demon Sect Saintess. Part 2. The Path Left Behind and the Gaze from the Darkness. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye, so quickly that Luke Tran had not even grown accustomed to the feeling of abandonment before he found himself standing at the gates of the Luke family. Behind him loomed a tall, cold wall. Ahead stretched a desolate mountain path leading out of the city. No one came to see him off. No words of farewell were spoken. At his feet lay a simple bundle of belongings, a few worn sets of clothes, some dried rations, and several low-grade spirit stones, handed out as if they were mere charity. The steward stood on the steps above, making no move to come down. His voice echoed from above, dry and indifferent, as though he were merely finishing an inconvenient procedure. 3 days are enough. The Luke family does not keep useless people. Luke Tran looked up at him, his gaze so calm that it unsettled the other man. He cupped his hands and bowed, observing the final courtesy, then spoke softly. "Thank you." It was not gratitude for kindness, but for the clean and complete severance. The steward let out a faint snort and turned away. Behind him, the massive gates slammed shut, the sound reverberating through the mountains like a cold, merciless full stop to Luke Tran's identity as the young master of the Luke family. Luke Tran stood still for a moment longer before bending down to lift the bundle onto his shoulder. The mountain wind swept past, carrying a chill and the scent of damp earth. The road ahead was rugged and uneven, strewn with jagged rocks, each step making his already frail body feel heavier. But he did not stop. In his mind, calculations unfolded with precision, every interval, every possibility, every outcome that might occur. According to the original storyline, if he followed the main road, he would encounter righteous sect disciples on patrol in less than half a day. Under the pretext of verifying his identity, they would kill him to claim merit. If he took the forest path to the west, he would run into the Demon Sect within 3 hours. One path led to certain death, the other to unknown danger, but with a sliver of hope for survival. Luke Tran did not hesitate. He turned into the forest trail, where wild grass rose to his waist and dense canopies blocked out the sunlight. The air gradually grew darker, colder, and more oppressive. After walking for a short while, his body began to react. The spiritual energy in his dantian circulated sluggishly, and every deep breath came with a dull ache in his chest. Luke Tran stopped beside a large rock, leaning his back against it as he steadied his breathing. Cold sweat dampened his forehead. He let out a faint chuckle, mocking himself. A true piece of trash. But in the next instant, his gaze sharpened. Whether he was worthless or not was not for others to decide. As long as he was alive, there was always a chance to overturn the board. Just as he was about to stand and continue on his way, a faint sound of footsteps echoed behind him, so light that, without focus, it could easily be mistaken for the wind brushing through dry leaves. Luke Tran did not turn immediately. He simply spoke, his voice low but clear. "You followed me from the Luke family all the way here. That's enough." The space around them fell silent for a brief moment. Then, a woman's voice rang out, cold as melting ice in the dead of winter. "You know me?" Luke Tran closed his eyes for a brief beat, then opened them again and slowly turned around. Beneath the dense canopy, a woman stood there, her black garments blended seamlessly into the shadows, long hair cascading freely down her back. Her face was cold and expressionless, and her deep, unfathomable eyes were fixed on him, carrying an undisguised scrutiny. The aura around her did not erupt outward, yet it pressed heavily on anyone nearby, like standing before a bottomless abyss. This was not the first time Luke Tran had seen Mo Bingyao, but it was the first time he had faced her at such close range. In the original story, the original host had not even managed to utter a single sentence before dying at the hands of the Demon Sect's subordinates. This time, he was still alive, and he had to seize this one and only opportunity. Luke Tran cupped his hands in greeting, neither bowing too low nor standing too straight, maintaining just enough distance to show composure. Saintess of the Demon Sect. Mo Bingyao narrowed her eyes slightly, her gaze sharpening as her voice turned colder. "You dare call me that? Are you not afraid of death?" Luke Tran replied without hesitation, meeting her gaze directly. "If I feared death, I would not have taken this path. The air between them tightened like a drawn bowstring. Mo Bingyao took a step forward. Her shadow fell over Luke Tran, and he could clearly feel the crushing pressure of the gap in their strength. A castaway of the Luke family, she said. Her voice was not loud, yet every word cut like a blade. What gives you the right to stand before me and speak? Luke Tran met her gaze without retreating an inch and answered slowly. Because I know you will be ambushed at the mountain pass ahead at midnight tonight, and the ones who strike will be the righteous sect. The moment his words fell, the aura around Mo Bingyao shifted. It did not erupt, but it grew so cold that the air itself seemed to freeze. She stared at him for a long time, so long that Luke Tran could feel his heartbeat pounding heavily in his chest. Yet he stood still, unwavering. At last, she spoke, her voice lowered. Who are you? Luke Tran let out a soft breath, as if he had just crossed a line between life and death. Then replied, someone who doesn't want to die according to your storyline. That answer made the corner of Mo Bingyao's lips curl slightly, a faint, cold smile. Interesting, she said, come with me. If what you said is false, I will kill you with my own hands. Luke Tran nodded without hesitation. I accept. The two figures gradually disappeared into the depths of the forest, the last rays of sunlight swallowed by the encroaching darkness. In that moment, an irreversible bond was formed. The cannon fodder had stepped beyond the starting line of death, and the Saintess of the Demon Sect, for the first time, carried by her side someone who dared to look fate in the eye and say, I intend to change it. The second part of Chapter 1 of The Patron Behind the Demon Sect's Saintess ends here. Thank you for listening. See you again in the next videos.